hi. There you are, the new folks. Come on in. Hi, I'm Bob, and I'll be your host for a promised fast break video tour of telecommunications today. As a member of the MCI team, you probably have lots of questions about MCI and our business, questions about where we are and where we've been. And that's great. I know I had lots of questions when I joined MCI. And while I still have questions about the meaning of life, the infield fly rule, and that setting on my VCR, I've pretty much mastered all the questions I've had about telecommunications. So, over the next few minutes, I'm going to share some key information with you. Information that's sure to come in handy as you begin your MCI career. Now, some of what I say will sound familiar, some won't. The good news is that what may sound new and strange now is going to get very familiar in a hurry once you're on the job.
So how did all this start?
Excuse me, did you say something?
Yes, that was me. I was just wondering how all this started.
Good question. Okay, well, let's take a quick look back at the history of telecommunications. I know, history can be a snooze, but I promise not to start with the invention of the telephone. Alexander Graham Bell, 1876, just in case you're keeping notes. Up until the 1980s, just about anything and everything that had to do with phone service, from the wire on the poles to the phone on the wall, was owned and operated by the Bell system. Led by MCI, a number of challengers sought to end the phone monopoly. You know, it took plenty of time, lots of money, and legions of lawyers, but in the end, MCI succeeded in breaking up the Bell monopoly and bringing competition to the telecommunications marketplace. Over the years, this competition has paid healthy dividends to consumers. How about improving service, sparking innovation, driving down prices? As a result of deregulation, people today, they buy their own phone equipment and select their own carriers, choosing between MCI and our various competitors. Today, these competitors aren't just long-distance companies. In fact, MCI itself is less and less a long-distance company and more a total communications provider. You know, the old industry distinctions between local and long-distance carriers are no longer obvious, with many customers now opting to rely on a single carrier for both local and long-distance. Still, some distinctions remain, with MCI selling primarily long-distance and other companies like the regional pieces of the Bell monopoly handling mostly local. Nowadays, even the phone signal itself has changed, with most calls being transmitted in digital rather than analog form.
Digital? Analog? What's the difference?
Well, without getting too technical, consider the difference between old LP records and CDs. I think I'm dating myself. Well, anyway, records. They represent an analog music source, while CDs are digital. Records store music as a continuous wave of information. CDs store essentially the same information in little bits of ones and zeros. And the means of transmitting calls have changed as well. While most carriers rely primarily on landlines, wires on poles or buried under the ground, these cables have improved dramatically in recent years. Each cable now contains, be ready for this, thousands of glassed fibers, and each fiber is capable of carrying thousands of calls.
Sounds expensive.
Well, it was. Several years ago, MCI spent millions adding new fiber optic cables and making our network entirely digital. To back up the cables, MCI uses digital microwave technology. It's a means of delivering similar quality sound. Chances are, you've seen some of the towers and dishes used to boost and relay phone signals via microwave. For international calls, MCI uses satellites and digital undersea cables to connect people across oceans, continent to continent. All in all, MCI boasts one of the largest, fastest, most extensive global networks going. And most of the network is facilities-based. You know what that means? That means we own the network. Owning the network, as you could imagine, gives us quite a few advantages over other companies.
Isn't there a lot of government regulation involved in the phone business?
Yes. Yes, there's certainly plenty of that to go around. The FCC, that's Federal Communications Commission. The FCC regulates all calls across state lines. State Public Utilities Commissions, meanwhile, they regulate calls within states.
Seems to be a lot of specialized jargon in this business.
There sure is. As in other technical businesses, abbreviations, acronyms, and specialized terms seem to be the rule rather than the exception. I have to admit, people tend to speak in a strange code language. Someone, for instance, might say, I'm picked to MCI as my LDC for state to state.
You calling me names or something?
No, not at all. I just wanted to share some specific terms with you, beginning with LATA.
Ooh, did someone say latte?
No, sorry. I said LATA, L-A-T-A, stands for Local Access Transport Area. That's a geographic area that determines whether a call is a local toll or long-distance call. LATAs vary in size, with some states having only one LATA and other states having two or more.
Excuse me, but are LATAs the same as area codes?
Nope. They're two different things. During the breakup of the Bell monopoly, remember I referred to that earlier? LATAs emerged as a way to divide local toll calls from long distance. Calls within LATAs can be either a local or a local toll call. Calls between LATAs are long distance or inter-LATA calls. Oh, another key acronym is LEC, which stands for Local Exchange Carrier. A LEC is just another term for local phone company. Oh, where I live, the established LEC is Southwestern Bell. As in the past, LECs tend to handle calls only within their LATA regions. I've got an idea. Let's do a demonstration. Let's call my kid brother Tony. He runs a sports memorabilia store, just a few blocks down. When I call him from home, my call goes to a LEC switch in a central office, or CO. The switch figures out where the call's going and sends it on to Tony. I'm going to disguise my voice. Let's have a little fun with old Tony. 1, 22, 23, 24, 25. Tony here, go.
Yeah, hi. I've got a, Mark McGuire home run ball signed by, Tiger Woods, and I was wondering if you could...
Knock it off. Bob, what are you up to? Well, little brother, I'm telling some people here at MCI about local calls, and I thought I'd give you a quick ring. I can't believe you got that. So, how can I help? Well, by telling us who's connecting this call. Handling this call, that would be our, local exchange carrier, LEC for You're short, right. Thanks, man. Anytime. See you, bro. Okay, so Tony's a local call, but LECs also carry local toll calls, or long-distance calls within the same LATA. I got another idea. My Uncle Jack. He lives in Poplar Bluff, Missouri. It's a beautiful place, lots of fishing. It's in the same LATA as St. Louis, but not the same local calling area. Let's try giving him a call. Big Jack's got another big one coming in. Oh, here it comes. Come on. Big Jack's bait 10. I thought it was going to be called the Worm and Burn. That was a little too, highfalutin for the neighborhood. How's my favorite nephew? Oh, I'm doing great. Listen, Uncle Jack, I just needed your help in explaining this call type, from St. Louis to Poplar Bluff. Oh, that all? Well, this is a local toll call, stays inside the LATA, but it ain't free like calling next door.
Exactly.
Ooh, and it would typically be carried by the local exchange carrier or LEC. Oh, that's enough, Uncle Jack. Will you stop showing off? All right. See you, Bob. It's good to see it runs in the family. It's amazing what you can teach family members at reunions and holidays, isn't it? Anyway, I should probably add that LECs do other things, such as providing dial tone, directory assistance, calling features, and other services. You know what? They also assign phone numbers and sometimes handle repairs and billing. Now, our next key term is LDC, or Long Distance Carrier. Other terms for LDC are IC and IXC, both of which are short for Inter-Exchange Carrier. Among other things, MCI is an LDC, so are AT&T and Sprint. Now, traditionally, LDCs have carried all calls that cross one or more LATA boundaries. My ideas are flowing today. My mom moved to Florida last year, so she's definitely a long-distance call. Would you bear with me? Let's call my sweet, loving mom.
Hello?
Hey, Mom. How are you?
Oh, not bad, Bobby. I'd be doing a lot better if I boxed my numbers in the fourth at the track last night. Cost me 600 buckaroos.
$600. I'm calling with the MCI thing again. Need you to talk about the call here, Mom.
Oh, sure. This is a state-to-state long-distance call crossing numerous LATAs.
Very well said.
Well, I memorized the nice postcard you sent me.
See you later, Mom. Thanks.
Oh, bye, dear.
Now, our next keyword is PIC, or Primary Inter-Exchange Carrier. A PIC is the long-distance company a customer selects to carry their state-to-state and local toll calls from home. My PIC, for example, is, you guessed it, MCI. Now, before we get too far from LATAs, let me open up another pair of terms that can just throw this whole discussion into the realm of Dr. Seuss. In-state and state-to-state. Let's look at a map. Okay, here's Missouri with its LATA lines, and here I am in St. Louis.
Look, the Gateway Arch.
Remember when I called Uncle Jack in Poplar Bluff? You do. Good. That call began and ended inside the state and inside the LATA. So that was right, in-state local toll call. Number 2, when I called Mom in Florida, our conversation crossed several LATAs in several states. What do we label that one? State to state. Correct. Looking at the map, you can see that I could make a call between two LATAs. That is still an in-state call. For example, if I called someone in, say, Joplin, but I don't have any relatives in Joplin. Anyway, things get really dicey when a LATA straddles a state line, as this one does into Illinois. If I had a cousin in, say, Highland, Illinois, I could make a local toll call that goes outside my state but stays inside my LATA.
So what if I got a call from a fox in socks in the bottle where the Tweedlebeetles battle with their paddles in a puddle on a noodle-eating poodle?
Well, assuming he's in the same state. That would be a Tweedlebeetle, Noodle Poodle, Bottle Battle, Paddled, Muddled, Duddled, Fuddled, Waddled, Fox and Socks, in-state local toll call. Right?
Right.
There. And now you know all the terms needed to decode what I said earlier. Remember? I'm picked to MCI as my LDC for state to state. Translation, anyone?
You've selected MCI as your long-distance carrier for calls between states. No sweat.
Hey, you catch on fast. Good thing she does, too, considering how often new acronyms and abbreviations pop up in this business.
So, Bob, can you tell us, how does a long-distance call work?
Yeah, sure. Let's say I'm calling dear old Mom. When I pick up my phone at home, an electrical current goes to my central office, telling it to send dial tone. When I dial, the digits go to the Lex central office. The switch can tell I'm trying to call long distance, and since I'm picked to MCI, it sends my numbers to MCI's originating switch. The MCI originating switch, in turn, groups my call with other calls and sends it onto the network. Here it might travel over fiber optic cable, microwave, or satellite. At the other end, the MCI network routes my call to the local exchange carrier, and at long last, to dear old Mom's condo. After all that remarkable stuff seems to happen instantaneously, do I hear about her new car? Do I hear about her perm? No. She tells me about bingo night at the Legion Hall.
What about phone numbers? What's the logic there?
Good question. You know, phone numbers are actually pretty straightforward. The first 3 digits form the area code, the middle 3 represent the prefix, and the last 4 digits are the station ID. That's something like a telephone street address.
What about the 1 you dial first for long distance?
The 1 is called the long distance indicator. Today, some people don't need to use it because their local switches can recognize a long distance call without it. Oh, by the way, international calls. They have a special long distance indicator of 011 and can stretch on for 12 to 15 more digits depending on the country.
When I switched my local and long distance carrier, I was pleasantly surprised when I was able to keep my old phone number.
In phone business talk, that's called local number portability. It really hasn't been around for many years, but it makes a lot of sense and helps carriers to compete for your business on an equal footing.
Speaking of numbers, some of them seem, I don't know, sort of odd these days.
You're right. Of course. Not so very long ago, local numbers were always 7 digits. Area codes always had a 1 or a 0 in the middle, and only 800 were toll-free. Today, lots of people dial 10 digits for local calls. Area codes, they're no longer regular, and toll-free extends to 888 and beyond.
So what happened?
What happened? Call it technology, I guess. All those cell phones, fax machines, pagers, they needed numbers. And increased competition meant splitting up the available numbers between the various phone companies.
Is this almost over?
As a matter of fact, I was just wrapping up. We covered a lot of ground, and we covered it fast. Think of it. Digital, analog, government regulators, lattice, Lex, PICs, and phone numbers. We covered it all. Through it all, I have to tell you, you did really great, and you showed why you have a great future ahead of you here. For now, welcome to MCI, and welcome to the adventure. See you around. Now, where was I?